Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of the Three Man Weave College Basketball Podcast. I am your host this week, Jim Root. I'm joined, as always, hopefully as always, by Matthew Cox and Kai McEwen, my two cohorts on the microphones. Fellas, it is the heart of the offseason. We are still 3 months away from the start of the college basketball season, but we're getting a little creative with the pod topic here today. We'll get into that in a second, but first I want to give a little greeting to the boys here. Kai, how are you feeling? Are you ready for a big weekend? We're going to the Cubbies game tomorrow, my
Yeah.
man.
Yeah, Jim, I'm excited for that Cubs game. They play the dangerous Orioles, so watch out for the Orioles. Uh,
I think just traded half their team at the deadline. So
yes,
yeah.
yes, actually, yeah, one of my fantasy players, Jim, got traded. Uh,
Oh,
Jim's a Brewers fan. I'm a Cardinals fan, but heck, we love going to Cubs games, going to Wrigley Field. Matt's invited if Matt wants to come.
Funny you should mention my guy doing my hardwood floors currently at my new place. Hardwood floor Vince. Kai, great guy, did great work on my upstairs, downstairs, good sand, good refinish. Going to that game as well. His best friend is from Baltimore,
Oh,
and they're taking the day off, but we'll be pretty heavy on the moving uh thing. Moving stinks.
you gave him a
Holy
day
F.
off. Wow, that's really nice of you. Yeah, moving
It
does
wasn't.
moving does suck.
No, I'd say he kind of just took it. I think it was.
I'm
He
glad
just. He
I call him
just took
Hardwood
it.
Interior Vince, my guy HIV.
HIV. Yeah, that's a
HIV. Yeah.
yeah,
Well, happy for him. Happy he
as
gets
they
the
call
day
him on the
off.
streets. Yeah, so
But
hang out with
okay,
him. He'll be my proxy. Hang out with him. He'll be a good time. You'll like him.
Sure.
Buy him a beer. Thanks,
Okay.
Vince.
fantastic.
Yeah, I'll buy him a $30 beer.
Perfect. Well,
Yeah.
folks, yes, this is episode 410, start of August. Mentioned 3 months away from basketball, but our topic today, 3 to 5 teams each that we find to be the most interesting or compelling for the upcoming college basketball season. There also is a mini mandate to have a mid-major squad in there, so it can't just be the top 5 teams in the country. And it's not necessarily teams we want to watch the most. It's just the ones that maybe could affect the sport or have the most interesting storylines, maybe wide variance in their outcomes. Whatever your interpretation of that may be, we'll find out. Kai has revealed his. I have revealed mine to each other. Matt's are a mystery. So, folks, as we react live with you, while Matt reveals his teams, that will not be surprising. But that's the plan. After a quick Roots roundup, and we'll do some reviews at the very end of the episode. But first, a little shout out to Jay Pitty, our wonderful composer of our intro tunes. Also, hopefully, you have subscribed on Amazon, Spotify, wherever it is you get your podcasts. You can leave a review on Apple Podcasts. That's what we will introduce at the very end of the episode. We love a 5-star variety. That's our favorite kind. So if you want to jump in there with that, we would sincerely appreciate it. And you can subscribe on YouTube, where we are streaming live right now at Friday morning, 7 a.m., bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. This is our typical video time. Of course, you can listen whenever you want after the fact, but if you want to be in live, be in the chat, this is the time right now. And a quick shout out to The Burner, which is now known as Basket Under Review, the Trilly Donovan business enterprise that is taking over the college basketball streets. We've got writing, we've got video, we've got
We are everywhere.
podcasts, all under the network of Basket Under Review. You can join for $10 a month. You get content from the Three Man Weave, our top 50 preview countdown. They're rolling out right now. You've got Will Warren, Jordan Majeski, Brian Ralph, Eamon Brennan, Kevin Sweeney, and Eric Fawcett doing their video work. Trilly's inside intel on recruiting, transfers, etc. Get in now. It is the time to be there. We can also discuss everything in the Discord. Great place to have feedback with the people who wrote or talked about your team. Register your gripes or your happiness with the way they discussed it. Basket Under Review. It's the place to be. We're pumped to be there. All right, that is it,
Brr,
fellas. Brr, there you go. Brr, it's cold in here.
brr.
Basket Under Review. That's the acronym. We're big acronym guys. Shout out Home Interior Vince. Hardwood floor. Hardwood
HIV.
Interior Vince.
HIV.
Okay, let's get into Roots Roundup. Talking a little news and notes here, folks. Roots Roundup. Not much to go on this week.
Oh wait, Jim.
We're-
Shout out to our fine sponsor. I think I missed the plug last
Of
last
course,
week.
we're going to shout out CVB Analytics, Matthew.
Thank you. I actually had a trivia question prepared courtesy of CBB Analytics data.
Oh, here we go.
But before we get to it, real quick, just for those who aren't signed up yet, you need to be there. The cool kids in Basket Under Review have the access, people can slice and dice the same charts that we are creating, and you'll see those littered all throughout our previews. Again, I can't underscore enough how helpful it is to have, especially the D2 and D3 shot chart data. The more I go into the high, mid major, low major ranks, you see more and more of these guys, and it's like just immensely helpful to understand the type of scores. And a lot of these guys are just massive, massive producers, right? They put up big, points per games, but were they shooters? Were they pull up guys? Were they get to the rim guys? Very, very useful. I feel like I find a different use for the site every week as I go through my previews. But I have a trivia question for you, Jim. Ball control and usage. Nice little section here on one of their tabs. You can break down by minutes played, by usage, things like assist to turnover ratio, stuff like that. That's not always easy to find out there. Kai, highest assist to turnover ratio player returning. I'll give you a hint. We talked about this player yesterday in our group chat.
Okay, my first guess is Bruce Thornton. He's got to be way up there, right?
He is way up there. He is actually, I believe, third. Braden Smith is second.
Yeah,
But number one is a guy who has
Smith.
been touted as a shooter, but actually we believe has a little more wiggle to his game.
Give him your Josh Dix.
Joshy Dix. Yes, sir.
Wow.
Yeah. 3.1 assist turn ratio on a usage of 60% or 60th percentile, 21%. Again, get all the goods at CB Analytics. Check out our previews, and you'll see all that good stuff. And there will be linking to that. Thank you again, Nick. Apologies for missing your read last week. That's on me. That's a hand up. My bad.
Well, no, Matt, it's okay, Matt. We read. We read without you. We didn't just discredit.
Oh, so I thought I missed one the week before then. I think I was on a podcast in which we did not read it.
Wow, that doesn't sound like us. Well, if that happened,
I'll check the tape.
Whoops. Yeah, Matt, just real quick, shout out to Monty Morris's like 5-to-1 assist turnover ratio. That guy was a freaking alien in terms of that, racking up assists. Okay, yeah, shout out CBB Analytics. Promo code WEAVE, Matthew.
WEAVE. That's $40 off a subscription when you sign up today. And then coaches, obviously, please DM us. Had a couple coaches actually reach out for the pro tier access, which we have, which is everything, the soup to nuts, and it's awesome. So contact us. We'll put you in contact with Nick.
Yes, sir. Okay, Roots Roundup. Speaking of coaches, we'll start off there. No real realignment headlines, which we're happy to see. No big court proceedings this week. No big sweeping changes to the sport. But Kim English deleted his Twitter. Kim English, the head coach of Providence, the Friars, after oddly clapping back at a Providence writer and I'm air quoting this heavily, misquoting him or misinterpreting what he said. I don't know if people just chirped him so much he deleted it. Someone told him to delete it. Kai, this was a strange little instance of coach, put your Twitter fingers down.
Yeah, it was strange. Kimmy accused the writer who, I'm sorry, is it Bill?
I think it's Bill Cook.
Bill Cook. Yeah, Bill Cook. I've read a lot of his stuff because during research, he's a guy that writes for like Providence area, Rhode Island, I think.
Oh yeah, he's been around for forever.
Yeah, bunch of places. I think he's pretty well respected and not like a clickbaity guy. And Kim basically accused him of being clickbaity publicly on Twitter. He said pretty much the effect that Kim said, quote, "I don't want a repeat of last year." And Kim said, "Oh, you're taking words out of my mouth. I meant a repeat of last year in terms of like rotations and like that's why I brought in the new coaches." Maybe he was like afraid that Bill was insinuating that Kim didn't know how to coach, so he brought in a whole new staff to do it for him. I'm not sure, but it's weird to call a guy out publicly instead of doing it privately like a head coach normally would. And then of course, Jim, you mentioned he deleted his Twitter the next day. Probably a good call overall for Kim.
Yeah. Just step back, focus on the hoops. Because of this yesterday, Kai, I explained to my mother, who I was visiting, what the Streisand effect is, where when you make a huge deal of this is wrong, get rid of it, then suddenly everyone pays attention to it. And if there was just an article that Kimmy doesn't want to repeat of last year, I don't think anyone bats an eye
at all.
But now it's like,
Correct.
Oh, is he really protective of why that happened or what the reasons were behind last year's 12-20 record? And there are some Providence fans that replied to him like, we don't want a repeat of last year. It sucked. It was like the worst year in our program in the last 20 years. So yeah, I think he just let that go. And it was a fun little controversy in late July for us. The other bit of coaching news I want to mention, Bill Self of Kansas was hospitalized, had 2 stints put in, a little heart procedure, seems to be fully fine. He was on the Johnny Rothstein podcast soon after. I don't know if they had recorded it before or if that happened after, but fully fine. Going to be back to his duties as a Kansas coach. Now, bear in mind, he missed the was it 2023 tournament when they were the 1 seed and lost to Arkansas in the second round? He missed due to health issues. So,
Oh,
there's just kind of not saying where there's smoke, there's fire, but you're just kind of keeping an eye on that situation. It is a new era in Kansas, and we might be discussing them more later on this very episode. So, fellas, if you want to holster takes, I won't get your thoughts on it, but I do think that's very relevant to college basketball this season and just the landscape as a whole. So we're going to discuss that. That's it for main news. Just a couple little other things. The Maui bracket is set. And Kai, I just can't even bring myself to call it this, even though you're throwing shade at the field. I just any Maui Invitational that's at the Lahaina Civic Center is going to get my eyeballs no matter who's playing.
But it is the worst field ever, Jim.
Oh,
It is. It is.
oh.
Yeah, I'm gonna watch it. Don't worry. But yeah, NC State, Seton Hall. Okay, like NC State this year. USC, Boise.
Hey,
Maybe,
that's not bad.
maybe,
Probably two
yeah.
tournament teams ish.
Washington State, Drew Chaminade. Not really sure how that happened. And then Texas, Arizona State. Uh, these are all kind of like wet farts to me, Jim. These matchups. I'll be
Oh,
honest.
wet farts, he said.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no blue
Yeah.
blood. There's always as much as it's fun to have Chaminade in the tournament, it is kind of like all right, the team's probably gonna beat them by 25. And yeah, Matt, the NIL era where you don't get money from playing there. In fact, you have to pay to get across the country out to Hawaii, and it's just tough to make fiscal sense when you want all your dollars to be funneled to your players right now. It's awesome that the teams are still going, and I hope Maui's able to reframe the structure of the event so that they get the Dukes and Gonzagas and North Carolinas and Syracuses of the world again. I still think this is kind of fun if we get NC State, USC, Wazoo, and Texas on the winners bracket. That's compelling
yeah.
games to me.
Shouts to our guy Rocco Miller, who's doing some work for us. Kai at Burr talking about scheduling. He did a nice breakdown. Just giving some context as you're starting to see the dominoes falling of the NIL. Those big MTE events now are just scooping up a lot of the big premier programs. They'll rather go get paid big bags there than go have a nice epic week in Maui and create lifetime memories, cherished forever. So I don't know. It is a bummer, but clearly this is kind of the impact you're starting to see. So a lot of these MTE tournaments, I think the fields are going to start to be more and more watered down as the kind of big NIL shiny events are going to take their place. So
And you've got schools that aren't even doing the NIL events like UConn, Duke that are just hosting their own little like
right.
3-team mid-major patty cake fest.
And in many cases, not even tournaments, just basically like a set of games, right? So
quick
I
little
think that's
round
also
robin.
some of these coaches are like, I don't really want to play a tournament, but I think you want to play a tournament thing this early in the year maybe mid majors care more about that because they need to win their tournament later in the year, more likely than a pirate school. But I don't know.
Thanks, Greg. Are Seton Hall fans scratching their head here, Jim? You mentioned financials it takes to get
No,
out
they're
to
hyped.
Maui.
They're going to Maui. They
You're-
stunk last
you're
year. I'd
going
be
from-
hyped if you're a Seton Hall
Well,
fan.
I look at the roster and say, hey, maybe we don't go to Hawaii this year and we put it back in the roster for some real players, sort of thing. Maybe if I'm a Seton Hall fan.
Always go to Hawaii.
I don't know
can't.
what the.
Kai might have a point, but I just have to stubbornly dig my heels
Long
in
flight
and say
from
no.
New Jersey.
Yeah,
Long flight.
Yeah, not a short one.
it is.
Not a puddle jumper.
Very
That's
true.
for sure.
And speaking of MTEs or early season events, shout out to the Field of 68 for the opening day hoops marathon that we are getting both from Rock Hill, South Carolina and Sioux Falls,
Breakfast
South
ball.
Dakota. Yes, as Matt just said, we get actual breakfast ball. Queens and Winthrop tipping off at 8 a.m. Eastern. It is not 24 hours. It's not the Hawaii game at 4 in the morning or whatever, the old marathon, but it is close, Matt, and I am jazzed up for it. It's a bunch of really good mid-major programs. We've got Winthrop, Queens in the morning, St. Bonaventure Bradley, Murray State Omaha, Drake Northern Arizona, High Point Furman, and South Dakota State and Merrimack wrapping it up. Great different clash of styles, really good programs, some promising coaches that could end up at bigger jobs in the very near future. I'm pumped for this, Matthias.
I am too. The big thing I have with the day one is like it's become not as much of a spectacle as it used to be, and I hate that so many teams play non D1 teams to open the year. So I think if you're creating avenues to actually play games that count, especially within the mid-major realm, I'm obviously in on this. Yeah, this is a no-brainer.
Yeah,
Great scheduling play. Good job, Field 68.
fantastic. I'm more excited about this slate of matchups than Maui. I'll be honest. It's
Wow.
it's 15
I
hours, so okay, yeah, kind of close, Jim. Like you mentioned, my problem with opening day, Matthew, is there's like 100 games, and then we have like 8 on the next day. It's like maybe we just split it a little bit. Give the people a chance to watch everything.
It wouldn't be so bad, especially it's a Monday. It's Monday Night Football. It's Tuesday. There's nothing going on.
Yeah.
Sorry, Maction football, but I would prefer to have some headliner basketball games. I do think there are a couple pretty good ones on the second day this year. I don't have the schedule pulled up in front of me, but there are coaches that are making an effort to make that opening day, opening week a little bit stronger than it's been in the past. So we salute all of them and Fiddle 68 for this marathon. All right, boys, that is it for Roots Roundup, which means it's time to get into our little grab bag. Yay, new segment, kind of new little idea. Just trying to figure out the right way to discuss hoops in August. And as mentioned at the top of the show, the plan is, or plan was, everybody shows up, Kai, Jim, and Matt, with 3 to 5 teams each that we find to be the most compelling, most intriguing, most interesting, has our attention heading into the season. And we're just going to go a little roundtable style and discuss them, why they're intriguing, how we think it'll play out, what our guesses are for them. Just kind of a deep dive on some teams that really are going to drive the narrative in college basketball this year. I'm going to start with Kai.
Mm-hmm. And Jim, of
I'm going
course,
to get,
I spun the prompt, of course, which is just teams I want to talk about. And
hey,
so
grab
that's
your ball
a little
and
pepper.
we're playing we're on your court, Kai. So we're playing your game here.
Well, I think maybe a good place to start here is kind of a branch of a couple teams, and we're not going to go in depth on all of them, but shout out Jordan Majeski as well, who's writing an article related to this certain coaching tree, and that is the Todd Golden / Kyle Smith. I'll go one further / Randy Bennett coaching tree. Guys who have new positions this season. I think all 3 guys: Kevin Hovde at Columbia, Anderjek, Jim at
Andrzejek? I
Anderjek
think it's Andrzejek. Yeah, it's tough.
at Campbell, and of course our boy Mike Magpeo at Fordham, going from UC Riverside to Fordham, all related to the Kyle Smith / Randy Bennett / Todd Golden coaching trees. I'm stoked to watch all their teams. Columbia, you're getting an offensive guru in Hovde. Again, if you want to check out a deep dive on Hovde, check out Majeski's article on Basket Under Review. It's terrific. The roster talent, Matthew, you're an Ivy guy. I know you are. It's not great, but it does have a ton of continuity, as many Ivy schools do. And they have some intriguing ball handlers with Nolan and Brown, a front court hub in Thompson. Majeski mentioned in his article that Hovde likes the front court hubs. We know Florida's team last year was chock full of them. So I think Columbia's going to surprise a little bit. Just a little bit.
I love it. I mean, I just think it's the rising tide lifts all boats. I mean, that the clearly everyone associated with the Kyle Smith Columbia, it's like the Xerox Silicon Valley hub, like that spurred all the smart, innovators. It seems like that really played up this offseason in the wake of Golden's title, and so all those assistants are in better places, and I think rightfully so. So Kai, I would actually almost expand your just the entire cluster of teams, and we'll see how they do going forward. And yeah, it's easy for like Kyle Smith's kind of like the father of that. Like I know he feels almost forgotten because Stanford basketball feels irrelevant to a lot of us at this point. But yeah, the father of Gatorade. Love it.
Father dater. I mean, even somebody like Chris Gerlison could end up with a big job very soon. I think there's going to be like some downstream effect, as Matt said, of Golden winning the title. That just, it's like, oh, that's what's working right now. Copycat, copycat, copycat. Like we want that
Yes.
at our school.
There
And I
remains so
do
much
think
copy. Yeah. Go ahead, Jim.
go ahead. The staff is just like those guys are also smart. Like they're they're approaching basketball with a how can I find an advantage like at all times, like in the numbers, in the small stuff. Kyle, you mentioned the roster talent at Columbia. I mean, they had four starters potentially that went into the portal, and he was able to get them all out of the portal. He's got point guard coming from NYU Division III, where his brother-in-law was coaching before, Dave Klatsky, who now is replacing Hovde on the staff at
Is
Florida.
that his
So
brother-in-law?
there's kind of
Wow,
this, yeah, yeah.
I had no
I
idea.
actually, I think I learned that in the Jordan Majeski article. So hey,
I must have missed
basket under review, lots of knowledge in there. Yeah, it is just kind of this whole family inner workings of intelligence around the sport. They're sharing their ideas and like, especially the style that Florida played last year, up tempo. The guards shoot a ton of threes, but the bigs are really smart and can pass.
Yep. Yep.
I'm all in on watching that. So if we're getting more and more teams to play like that, Kai, and this tree continues to push out its branches into different leagues in different parts of the country, yes, please, stamp of approval from Jim Root, as much as values that has.
Yeah, real quick. So John Andrews, Zach Campbell flipped the roster, decent amount of continuity, but mostly flip roster. DJ Smith started for Robert Morris. He's coming in. Not a lot of like spectacular transfers, but I think solid gets. And again, I think the style change from McGeehan, who I did like, but sort of like a more Princeton style offense to what I assume what will be a pretty exciting offense that Andrzej's going to bring from Florida. I'm excited to watch. They're going to overachieve. And then Magpeo, our dude, 100% transfers at Fordham. He crushed it at Riverside. If you can win there, you can win anywhere. I think he's a real shot at setting the Ken Palm record for Fordham, which is at 127. Would you take that bet, fellas? Under 127 for Fordham this season?
I will take it in the
It's
next
a good
two
number.
years. Can I do that?
It's a good number. Next 2 years, I accept.
Can I give him 2 years to do it? Yeah, I
There's-
think he's fully capable.
DeJour Reeves can play. Gardner, the guy they brought in from D2, was an honorable mention All-American. Nutter can play. Yeah, I see the vision here for Fordham.
The deep roster. I can't believe they got so many guys. Like I was
Yeah.
surprised I mean, they actually have some high level dudes too, not like crazy high level proven at high major, but no, it's a good roster.
I think John Fendler's talked about it in the Baskin review. Is some of these guys that don't have maybe the biggest budget have to be a lot smarter, and it just forces them with their transfer portal takes. Like, all right, this guy I'm gonna put into this role. Maybe he's not the perfect like two-way player, but I've got scores, I've got a creator, I've got a little bit of size, and yeah, a couple of his bigs are guys he brought cross country from UC Riverside. I'm pumped about it too. The remember how exciting it was when Rose Hill Gymnasium, Rose Thrill, was
Yep.
fired up with Keith
Yep.
Urgo and actually had them playing really well. Let's get that back going here
Yeah.
in the Big Apple, Kai, and I think Magpie is the guy to do it.
Totally agree. All right, that kicks us off. Should I kick it over to Matthew?
I'm so
Mm.
excited to see
What
what
is
Matt's
he gonna
got under
talk
the hood
about?
here.
What is
What's
he
he
gonna-
cooking
what's
up?
he gonna
I'll
say?
start with I'll start with one of the ones. I guess I have two groupings of two into individual and three individual teams. So I'll start with my first grouping of two here. Washington, USC. I've mentioned this a lot, so I don't really want to spend a ton of time on this, but I just think it's an interesting pairing of teams. Coaches year two, very forgettable year ones. Part of the aftermath of that crazy coaching carousel, I think these rosters were sort of cobbled together in a dash, and now you fast forward 1 year after a tough season, you get, I think, a little more NIL momentum. Like, okay, you learn from the hardships. I think you kind of rally some of the donors. You get more money, and you get after the portal quicker, and you have a quick chance now to really flip the perception of, maybe not Musselman as much, but I think Sprinkle, who we all viewed as like a top, super good coach, and then all of a sudden he has one bad year. Like, we don't think he's a bad coach now, do we? Like, Musselman, I know, has been kind of up and down his whole career, but I think his success speaks for itself. His tournament success, especially. And I'm not ready to kind of throw him to the wayside just because he had a tough year out. And his return to La La Land, Kai. And on paper, I really like both these rosters. I know there's like fit concerns, but I think there's two rosters where USC's depth has been hurt a little bit with the arenas thing. It doesn't feel as deep as it did probably 2 months ago to me, but I still think they're net deep rosters. And when it comes to like fit, I don't care as much if you have 10 plus guys that I think can make an impact. Like, I think it'll just kind of sort itself out. So
Yeah.
I like that they both got after it early. They overloaded with depth, at least tried to, especially, I mean, Washington's really deep. USC not as deep, but Washington is really deep. And I think it's just going to sort itself out. I think that's two West Coast Big Ten bounce backs for sure. But there's real pressure. I think that's why it makes this whole thing. I think there's real pressure. You can't have two stinker years in a row to start off your tenure as a coach. The timeline now is too quick. You can't have two bad years in a row.
Yeah, I'd say pressure. I guess pressure more on Sprinkle just because he's
It feels more on
new to the
Sprinkle because he's
power
not as
ranks.
proven as
Musselman's
Musselman.
been there,
Yep.
done that.
Yep.
Well, Musselman and Jim did a great job of bringing in guys that aren't from the mid-major ranks for the most part. He actually brought in like real transfers. No offense, but Rodney Rice, Chad Baker Mazzara. That's a pretty darn good backcourt one too. They lack a point guard, but yeah, they're gonna be pretty darn good. I I hesitate to say they're gonna overachieve a ton. But I am in on Sprinkle. He's got a little bit more like guys have to translate for me to be at my top level concern, like Peterson and Ognacevic and even Steinbach coming over from Germany. But two very intriguing teams.
Yeah, I think I'm going to say the pressure's slightly more on Washington and then Sprinkle because he has such great monetary backing. Like that's not a doubt at Washington. They've got the one. It's not quite BYU of like super donor, but they've got money. They're able to go out in the portal and get pieces that are going to be important this year. We've kind of discussed them a little bit too. I'm higher on USC, but I really see it with Washington, like the way it could work out, where they're basically too deep at every spot. They've got skill, they've got size. They can go big, they can go small, they can play a bunch of guards, they can play a passing point guard or a shooting point guard. Just like so many different options that I do think it's a great test for Sprinkle. Like, can you figure it out? Can you put together the right combinations that work and play off each other well? And can you over both of these? Can you overcome the scheduling disadvantage of having to go cross country a ton? Like, I know you get teams coming out on the long travel, but you have to do it multiple times. We saw it wear down UCLA, and Mick Cronin publicly decry that fact. It's going to be tougher for them just with the schedule.
Yep.
But I'm with Matt. They both really rebuilt and are very intriguing after last year's kind of disappointing starts.
And Matt, can you win with USC's two best players that transfer to your school? Claude and Yates. Sprinkle recycles them, turns them into his.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
the fun
and that's
little
sort of the
underlying
intrigue
storyline of these two. Yeah.
What is
and how big of a role does Claude have on Washington? I think it's going to be big, but may not be as big as what he's hoping for. We'll see. Yeah.
Matt, set the line. Last year, these teams won a combined 11 games in the Big Ten. What's the line this year? They were 11-29 last season.
Ugh.
Yeah.
The old 25%. All right, 26 and a
I
half
think
or whatever it is for me.
You think 500? Would you go over under 500? Okay.
I think it's a good line.
I think it's a good line too.
I think like Washington 9-11 and USC 10-10.
I might
11
bump
and 9.
both your. I think I'm gonna add a game, a win to both your records on both
Okay.
teams.
All right, over
I'm gonna,
over 20, 19 and a half.
I'm taking
I
over.
like that.
Okay.
Taking over. Argue about it, folks. Let us know. Let us know in the comments in the Discord. Over or under for those two out of 40 games. All right. My first team, fellas, is pretty darn close to the top of the sport. The Houston Cougars. And here's why. I think they are compelling because there's a chance this is Kelvin Sampson's last elite team. I don't think the bottom's ever going to drop out for Houston, but there's a chance that their entire starting five, Uzan, Sharp, Tugler, Cenac, Harwell, presumed starting five at least, is gone after this year because they've got high level freshmen that could potentially go pro early. There's veterans that could also, or Tugler could be gone and Uzan and Sharp exhaust their eligibility. And it's just kind of a different team for Sampson. He's started. I'll make you guess. How many freshmen have started more than 5 games under Calvin Sampson in the past decade?
I was wondering this, Jim. I did write this preview already, but the thought did occur to me. It's like, are we really starting freshmen in Houston? It can't be a lot. Like maybe one, maybe two.
Matthew,
Jarris Walker, is that one?
Jarris Walker is one.
Yeah, Walker.
Walker's the only one to start 25 plus.
Okay.
And they've had way back in, I believe it was Calvin's first year, Galen Robinson started 22. Those are the only
Their
two
backup point
that have
guard.
started
Yeah.
20 games. Cedric Alley 16, Marcus Sasser started 17, Caleb Mills started 7. But That's
Giroux.
5 in a decade, and only one of them started 25 games. And there's a chance Cenac and Harwell both start 35 games this year. Now, Walker was the other 5-star recruit, and it's not like they've been overflowing with that kind of talent, but it's a tougher fix to get guys playing that style right away. Sometimes it takes buy-in, it takes time to get used to the physicality of their practices and whatnot. So it's interesting to me, and there's a region in Houston. This was kind of a small storyline that came out, but Houston is no longer the host of the Houston Regional, so the Cougars are allowed to play there.
Mm.
They passed off that responsibility, and that would give them a nice path to the Final Four potentially. They won a couple games in Indy last year, beat Purdue in the regional, and that's where the Final Four is coming this year. Samson's getting up there. Would it be the swan song, especially after you go from heartbreak to top of the sport this year? I don't know, Matt. I just find Houston very compelling because of the roster setup, and I don't. This might be the end of a run of finishing top 2 in Ken Palm. Maybe they fall to like ninth
Yeah.
the following season.
No, I think the whole the freshman class as a whole and the variance in how they fit within their respective teams. I just think there's some teams like good teams like Houston who like really need their freshmen to be good. And I think that's like a change from what we've seen the last couple of years, where it was like having freshmen outside like the top 5, top 10, right? Like was kind of just a bonus, right? Like just gravy, and you could work them in. If they pop, that's great. You didn't need them. But this year, like teams really need these freshmen to be good. It's like I said, you're basically a guy short of what you were last 2 years, basically. So yeah, and Houston, one of those teams at the top of the totem pole for sure.
I'm all the way in. They're going to be the best team in the country again. 4 straight years, second in Ken Palm's crazy, but the non-freshman guys that are rising, besides the 3 guys coming back, Mercy Miller could be really good this season as a sophomore. Cedric Lath maybe gets some minutes. I'm kind of impressed with him. I don't know if he'll actually play a ton. But then Sacco, the guy they brought in from Sam Houston, he's like right in the same mold of a typical Houston guy, like physical rebounder, can protect the rim a little bit, and he's huge. Why wouldn't he just play a little bit as well? I think Houston's got a ton of talent once again, and great players, and of course an awesome system. Number 1 for me.
Can I hog the ball and,
Yeah.
and do a
Hog the
second
ball.
one? 'Cause I got a little transition. So if there were a retirement in the offing for Sampson after this year, it would not trigger any sort of carousel because they're just going to promote Kellen Sampson, coach in waiting.
Yep. Right.
The one that I do think could start the largest potential carousel domino effect is Kansas, who we mentioned. Bill Self has the health issues, and you go into this year, it's a brand new team. Basically, you don't have the Harris, Adams, Dickinson quadrumvirate or trio. Excuse me. There's only 3 there. Those guys are gone. It's a refresh for Bill. Darren Peterson, he says, is his most talented freshman he's ever coached, which, debatable with Embiid and Andrew Wiggins. But just with the health thing lurking around, is this team good enough to be his swan song? Kai, I don't think there's like a natural, oh, you just promote that guy, or it's you go out and this is the obvious Kansas hire. If it's not that entertaining of a year for Bill, and he's kind of like, I'm done with this era, I want to take the step
Yep.
down. This could be the one that triggers the like somebody bumps up to this job. Maybe they get Nate Oates, and Alabama's got to hire somebody, and it falls down the line. So that makes Kansas like super, super intriguing to me.
I think
McCall.
the
Go ahead, Jim.
to have a carousel like we did 2 years ago, you have to light the dynamite stick at like a blue blood. So KU would be obviously that would be awesome.
Ben
Like the
McCollum
dynamite,
takes
Kyle, like
Iowa
a
to the Elite Eight.
Mission Impossible.
Kansas
Yeah.
hires Ben McCollum, and then big scramble for all the other jobs. Maybe. Who says no? I think
Maybe,
Kansas
maybe.
would be fine.
Darren DeVries misses Iowa, wants to go back home, takes
Yeah,
Iowa.
takes Iowa.
Indiana calls Brad Stevens again. Brad Stevens says, "Fine,
Yes. Brad
Coming
Stevens
home.
comes back. Huge.
Finally.
fine."
Huge.
What if Brad Stevens takes the Kansas job? How about that?
Todd Golden takes West Virginia. Ross Hodge moves on somewhere else. Billy Donovan comes back to Florida. It's all going to happen.
Chaos theory. Kai, is Kansas going to be good enough to keep Bill Self intrigued by college hoops?
I don't know, because I'm not a huge fan of Council, Dawson, and White. I think they're all fine role players. I don't even know if Council can be a role player. That's kind of my problem. He's been like the number 1 usage guy on his team for the Bonnies, for Wagner. He's been solid, but this is the Big 12. This is Kansas. This is the premier college basketball university, or at least the top 5 in the country, I just think you need more from your transfers. Darren Peterson's incredible. I said before, he reminds me of an NBA 2 guard right now. And then Badunga, we think, is going to have a huge year. But I don't like the depth. I don't like the scoring outside of Peterson. It's just kind of a shrug for me right now on Kansas.
Yeah, I'm curious to see where it goes. I think Badunga has the monster year, Kai, that you're implying.
Yeah,
The
he could.
defense, I think, should be
Very good.
incredible. Like you can be really switchy. Paul Mbia, the foreign big that they stole from NC State, has like a 7'7" wingspan. I think Bill Self will find a way to make that work within the defense. Maybe play a couple of minutes alongside Badunga. I think Council's a great defender who's been playing every minute of his career and is going to be maybe even better without able to get some rest. But they feel like one more playmaker or scorer away. It's so much on Peterson this year, and that's tough. As Matt said, some of these teams are really reliant on freshmen. They need him to be amazing to be good,
Yep.
and we'll see if he's quite up to that task. I think he's talented enough, but it's a lot to ask right away. All right, Kai, who else are you compelled by this season?
Jim, let's go to the school across the border of the border war, our school, Missouri. Too bad, suckers. I'm talking about Missouri. I can't wait for the Tigers this season. I'm convinced myself we're going to be good again. The shooting is going to be a concern. It's definitely true. We lack the shooting, but Anthony Robinson, Mark Mitchell, two returners that were in our top 100 players. Mark Mitchell was top 50 guy. Anthony Robinson was an analytics darling, like number 2 in like I don't know what Evan Mia's site, Jim. His rap
Way up there in
like
CUB
99th
analytics,
percentile.
RPM.
Insane.
Yep.
That intrigues me. We just need some shooting. Trent Pierce, Jacob Cruz, could they improve their shooting? They're going to play a lot. They kind of have to. Jevin Porter coming over from LMU. We'll see what we get there. He hasn't exactly had an efficient season. He's only played in the WCC. I don't know. Boateng was a major recruit last season, barely played. Started the first like 7 games though. And T.O. Barrett, another rising sophomore. Matt, they're physical. I know you love the Tigers this season, actually more than me and Jim possibly.
I do.
Physical, athletic, long once again. They're going to live the line. Sean Phillips can give us most of what Josh Gray gave us, maybe the same amount. I don't know. I'm excited for the Tigers once again. Will Gates play 11 guys? Hopefully not. Probably will. What do you think about Mizzou?
Yeah, I sent you guys the advanced data yesterday. I think Anthony Robinson and Sebastian Mack, a guy that I was sort of, I believe we had him on our top 100 player rankings
2 years ago.
2 years ago. We did. A post-hype sleeper candidate. Both guys are elite in pick and roll. I think Gates is like very keen on using that as this ignition switch to that offense. But yeah, you got to have some shooting. And like, I don't know. I haven't watched a shooter as like gravitationally like impactful as Caleb Grill in a while. Maybe I watched a lot of Mizzou because I was with you guys so much, but like, holy cow, that's just to go from like the Demoy Hodge effect with how much he bended the game. He left like, whoa, it was just kind of a system shock. And I think removing Grill from that equation, but I like the roster. I think like Phillips and Porter are underrated. I don't think Cruz is as laughably bad as people think.
Just takes
I kind of like
shots.
Barnett off the bench. I thought he was a little nice
Barrett.
little piece. Barrett, sorry, Barrett. Thank you.
I think he'll be a lot better this year. I agree.
I think so too.
I worry that as much as Kai, we are excited for them, they will not be a fun watch
Not a
because
lot.
of the
No.
parade to the free throw line.
Yes.
If you look at national statistics and free throw rate, percentage of your or free throw attempts divided by your field goal attempts, an indicator of how often you get to the line. Mark Mitchell was 22nd in the entire country last year. Anthony Robinson would have ranked somewhere in the top about 8th had he played just a couple more minutes, and Sebastian Mack would have ranked somewhere around 55th. So like
Yeah.
their 3 highest usage guys probably are all going to be draw contact, get to the foul line, very efficient possessions, just not overly entertaining if you're, wanting some flow to the game. And then kind of my fear with this roster has always been it looks built to be a defensive juggernaut, like with the size, athleticism, switchability, optionality in lineups, especially if Boateng and Phillips are very usable. But Dennis Gates has not shown much indicators of being a good defensive coach. There's gambling and inherent flaws with the system that I think limit how stingy they can be. So I worry that it should have just doubled down on the strength instead of trying to patch over the weakness.
I know it's wild. I thought he was a defensive guy coming from Florida State, and then Cleveland State I thought skewed defensively, and then hasn't really panned out at Mizzou.
Yep.
Regardless, Jim, we're gonna support our Tigers. Rawr, MIZ.
Get be back in the tournament for the third time in 4 years.
Yes, that'd be
That'd be
great.
great.
Just make the tournament, honestly, and I'll be happy. Okay, I passed the rock to Matthew for another team.
I got UConn. Like this was a team that was the gold standard of the sport for 2 years, and it was like, holy cow, that program's running laps around us. And last season felt like, I was listening to Hurley talk about, I mean, like really through the eyes of as the lens of like a failure because of the bar they sort of set the first 2 seasons. Um, and this team was like what a couple possessions from beating Florida and advancing to the Sweet 16. So like, I mean, all things considered, they had some injuries. I know they had some younger guys too. Um, but the way that the roster kind of restructured this season, it does feel like a pretty um, compelling slingshot into, oh yeah, we're still UConn. And while do we have an Andre Jackson type of NBA stud or a Donovan Clingan? No, but the depth and the experience I think is a lot better. And I think there's a good chance we're talking about UConn as one of the top. I know we all have them ranked top 5, right? But I think that's sort of the can Hurley regain that mojo, that dominance, that the I run this sport type of confidence that he seemed to carry himself with, and this program did for 2 straight years, especially when you have such tight knit continuity with that staff. With there's 2 sitting top high level head coaches in waiting on that staff, and it's rare to have that type of like retention. And I just think people will miss the years last year where UConn was not a dominant force. I think there's a chance they could just really explode this season with that group. So, and Hurley's always
You mean
a
for
good
the sport?
soundbite for the airways.
Yeah.
Yes.
I am
How's it for the sport, Kai?
I'm 100% in on UConn this season. I think they're going to be awesome towards the top of the country. I think Demery's going to be absolutely fantastic in this system. Like one of their best players. Reed's going to be great in more minutes. Braylon Mullins, Jim, we got the practice chatter going for Mullins. Says he's like looking like their best player. That's not going to happen, but he's going to be awesome. Caravan and Ball, fantastic players. Yeah, their depth is solid too. Especially Malachi Smith is all the way healthy. I hope he is. Um, they're number one in the Big East for me, and I think they're a top 5 team.
I don't have a single question about their offense.
Yeah.
Like, I know that they have awesome players. They have a system that's going to maximize those guys. Coaches are going to draw up really smart things to put them in the positions where they are strongest, whether it's a guy going downhill to his right or a guy catch and shoot on the left wing or getting Terrace Reed shoving little children out of the way for his offensive rebound onslaught. They're going to be unbelievable on that end. The defense is just that was really the mojo, as Matt mentioned, when they had Andre Jackson as this ridiculous destroyer at every single spot, could guard everybody. And there's no Donovan Clingan remotely on this roster. There's no elite shot blocker, potential lottery pick. Like Eric Ribe, the junior guy, is more skilled than defensive based. I'm not even sure he's going to play that much. Reed, yes, is a pretty impressive presence by the rim, but he fouls a lot, and this whole team fouls a lot. So I think they're going to be a juggernaut offensively. Defensively, I think there's going to be some hiccups. And that might prevent them from getting quite to that echelon. And like they were so dominant, they won every NCAA tournament game by 15 or whatever for 2 straight years. So it's not a shame or a bad thing to not be at that level. But I'm excited about that because it means that it's not like an invincible team is going to run through March. Like I think they will have
Yeah.
enough cracks in the armor that they will be beatable. But yeah, right back up to that top 5 range. Throw out a sub 30 Ken Pom finish. That's not happening again. Okay, that's UConn.
That is who is up in said rotation. I don't have a good segue seamlessly to because I don't know.
Well,
let's
I was
see.
going to try to draw on Kai mentioned in the potential carousel movements that
Yeah,
one Ben McCollum could
yeah.
potentially move again. Interestingly enough, because he's been such he stayed at Northwest Missouri State for so long, and now he's 1 year at Drake. Would it really be 1 year at Iowa? He loves his home state. But Kai, Iowa just intrigues me because it is McCollum, and he is shown to be kind of a savant of coaching the sport at multiple levels now. Does that carry all the way up to the Big Ten? Does Bennett Sturtz's production carry all the way into the Big Ten? His splits against top competition last year, indicate, yes, emphatically, he's going to be just fine. But this is a very unique system. There's not a ton of size on this roster. It's not like Iowa suddenly cracked open the NIL war chest and gave him an elite roster. It's kind of Drake injected with a little bit of steroids,
Yeah.
being Brendan Housen as a shooter, Alvaro Fogueris, the Horizon Player of the Year, give him another skilled front court piece, but they're not huge. They're not overly physical. And my favorite CVB analytics stat that's going to be in my Iowa preview, but number of field goals taken last season with less than 10 seconds on the shot clock. Bennett Sturts led the country, lapped the country with 209.
Yeah.
Second most was Eric Dixon with 175. So 34 more attempts with that late in the shot clock. Sturts is so valuable within the specific system. I think it's smart he stayed with McCollum instead of trying to cash an even bigger paycheck somewhere. Kai, I'm just intrigued by Iowa because of McCollum and Sturts factors.
Team's going to be so good. They got 5 guys from Drake who know the system already. 6, I guess, if you include the red shirt. That's just huge, bringing in a new coach to a new system, to a new program, new program. And you add in great transfers in Fulgaris from Robert Morris, who was the Horizon Player of the Year, and Housen, a guy who I think fits like a glove into this system with the way he can shoot. Drake won 31 games last year. They absolutely controlled Vanderbilt in the non-con. It was kind of the first time we saw them, and it wasn't a problem. Yeah, Sturts had 21 against Mizzou and Texas Tech in the NCAA tournament. The guy's going to be fine at the next level. I'm all the way in, Matt. I'm pushing chips in on Iowa as well. I'm getting higher and higher on them per day. McCollum, I think, is a genius. It's not going to be the funnest style to watch if you're an Iowa fan, but man, it's effective. You think he's going to increase his pace a little bit, don't you, in the Big Ten? I think you said that before. I'm skeptical of that.
No, I think I was just comparing it to Indiana. It does feel like there's like very little hype around Indiana and like all of the hype around Iowa. And in reality, I'm like, I feel like these two teams are pretty similar in caliber. And maybe I'm being too short sighted, but it does feel like the Ben McCollum, and it's just it really speaks to how much the NCAA tournament drives narratives because DeVries was left at home, snubbed, pissed off West Virginia fans with the 1 year cup of coffee, and then goes to Indiana, and then it sort of, I don't know, tepid comment. But then Iowa, obviously, you have the McCollum love of the tournament, how fun that team was, how Sturts, whatever. So, well, I will see. I mean, I love Iowa this year, obviously, but I think I love how Jim said it, the Drake on steroids, because that's what you need in the Big Ten, right? You can't just win with Drake talent. You need to actually have a little more juice, and with Fulgaris and Housen, and obviously another year of development from those guys that have been with them. And again, I think the deceptive nature of how they play. Like, I think there's a year adjustment period for teams in the Big Ten to get used to that style. I think they'll have an advantage actually in year 1 in the conference.
To extend your point, Matt, on the NCAA tournament driving narratives with those two, like DeVries has the 2 Drake collapses. McCollum has the actual win with Drake in the NCAA tournament. So that probably helps a little bit of it too. But the last time we saw this team, JT Toppin and Darian Williams were mauling them in the paint, had like 50 points and maybe more. It might have been like 53 points on 80% shooting in the lane. And Kai, I'm sorry, but as much as I love Alvaro Figueres, a guy I rated really high in our top 100, he's not fixing that problem.
No.
So like Armaniao and Banks and Figueres enough to hold up inside, I don't know. And not every team's going to have that kind of interior pummeling, but it's the Big Ten. A lot of them do. And I think that's something worth monitoring. Is that solvable as a coach, or is it going to be a big weakness, Achilles heel for them?
Yeah, those two guys, Jim. 53 points on 21 of 27 shooting against Drake in the tournament.
So that's, and just it like wasn't addressed. Like there's no big body joining the Drake on steroids team.
Yeah, I like Maniel, but he's skinny, right?
Yep. All right, Kai, over to you.
Well, Jim, what conference does Drake play in? The Missouri Valley.
Missouri Valley.
I didn't give you a chance to answer, but Illinois State is there right now, and they might be the favorite to win the conference. Ryan Peden, a guy that I certainly had questions on, despite great conversations, but the first 2 years were a little bit rough. This last season was the best Illinois State's had since 2017, and maybe it was still a little bit disappointing, but I think he did a solid job. 10-10 in the Valley probably is not where they should have been. But in KenPom, hey, they ranked pretty highly. They actually did something in the non-con. This year's the real test, though. This is the roster that with it, they will be picked in the top 2 of the Valley, maybe number 1 by most people. The program hasn't been in the tournament since 1998, which is shocking. That was Kevin Stallings, by the way, who was leading this team, which is nuts. Matt, it's hard to believe they haven't been back with so many good teams that have been at Illinois State over the years. I know we grew up with Arch Madness
Yep.
in our backyards. But you have 4 starters back. You have Chase Walker, who we've talked about in this podcast, best player in the Valley, top 100 guy for us, even I think. And then Johnny Kinziger, an all Missouri Valley guy. Plus, you add back Bowden Skunberg, who's a former All Summit player, can score. I don't love Landon Moore, Jim. We've talked about this, but this level for him is certainly better than Butler, at least for his playing ability. I think it's 25 wins, and it's top 100 or bust for Peden this year at Illinois State.
It feels like
Yeah.
such a, you got to do it now. Like you had an unbelievable amount of retention, which is going to be really rare at this level. You kept actual studs that I'm sure we're getting calls from power conference schools. Like who doesn't want Kinziger bombing threes for them? Who doesn't want Chase Walker? I mean, we've got Brandon Walker going to Mississippi State, who's like a JV version of Chase Walker. He could have gone to an SEC school if he wanted. And they're back in the Missouri Valley. There's not like the clear big team atop the league. There's not the McCollum, Drake. Bradley's not quite as experienced or talented as they are in the past. It's all there for the taking. And I'm with you, Kai. I lost quite a bit of money gambling on Illinois State first 2 years of Peden's career because I sort of liked the rosters and they didn't go anywhere. But seems to have turned a corner last year, and perhaps this is going to be the one that vaults him to an even bigger job. And this could be a mid-major darling because of the continuity and the advantage they have early in the season that picks off a couple of big teams and builds Matt the borderline at
Yeah,
large resume
right.
that people are talking about all through February.
Yeah, that's why I think retention for at the mid-major level is like especially important because if you actually want to pursue an at-large avenue, you need to get a couple of big wins in the non-con. Whether that's you have retention yourself or you're matched up against a power conference team that's ushering in 12 new pieces. Like certainly Illinois State, and I've heard Peden talk about this summer, like absolute nightmare to create a non-conference schedule if you're Illinois State. Like absolutely no one wants to play you. Just no team will even answer your phone call. I really haven't looked at if they've posted theirs or not, but I'm curious to see how that lines
They
up
have not.
because
No.
nothing. They haven't.
I'm pulling up the D1 docket. So their
I'm
biggest
guessing
games
they'll be
they've
like
got.
one of the last ones. I think Peden said the Valley, the A10 and the Valley are just kind of that league, that range of conference quality where it's just too good for powers to really want to play them. They think they're probably going to fly too close to the sun, which again, I hate this narrative. It's so stupid. Just like at the end of the day, the games you play are going to count for what they should, and it's going to all sort itself out. But easy to root for a team with this much retention at the mid-major level in the current landscape. Like just easy to root for. So
Yep.
that's
So
where I'm at with Illinois State.
they're in one of the ESPN events in the non-conference for their MTE. They're playing the other ones in it are Charlotte, Furman, and Richmond. Like sadly not big needle movers. The one they have to get is November 14th in Inglewood. They play USC, one of Matt's other
Ooh.
compelling teams. If they
Ooh.
can pick off a team that has like no
Ooh.
continuity in the first 10 days of the season,
Yeah.
that's really going to get the ball rolling, Kai. And everything else is pretty winnable. They got Chicago State at home. They play at Long Beach State after that USC game. If they win, folks bet on the beach for a potential long or
Yep.
letdown game. But that's the one. If they can get that one early in November, it really sets the tone, ignites the spark, Matthew, as you said.
Exhibition game, Matt, against Northwestern in late
Oh,
October.
we'll find out early.
We'll find
We'll
out.
find out early.
We're going to find
We'll
out.
find out.
Oh, we'll go find out.
All right. That's my
Um,
next team. Matthew.
I kind of had one. I'll do San Diego State. I think a similar team, Kai, not mid-major, whatever, mid-major, I don't care, whatever we're calling San Diego State. A team that's not in the Power Six, although I think their program operates at that level under Brian Dutcher. I think the specific example of Magungwath entering the portal, being tabbed to Kentucky, an obvious like big portal splash, gets all the preseason hype going his next, and then he ends up staying, and they retain a bunch of their other guys. And I heard Dutcher like campaigning all of last year, like NIL collectives, like local radio. He was very much beating that drum. And to do it in a year where, they had a good season, but to come off that embarrassing NCAA tournament, like they got absolutely smashed by UNC. Coming out of that to still keep all those guys, like to not have the sour grapes temptation to leave. Pretty cool. I think one of those programs that are just outside the Power Six that I think has real staying power in this new climate. I think they have more. They have decent backing. Again, they're well coached. They have an easy sell with the whole San Diego thing. I think there's an advantage to being on the West Coast. You have fewer competition of schools out there, and kids that are from the West Coast want to stay there. I think Mick Cronin's talked about this at UCLA actually. So there is some staying power. And I want to see teams like this continue to be good in this new climate. I just like the roster a lot. Like we can break down the team left and right. I just think it's a great roster. We talk about getting, Miles Bird as kind of a wing star. BJ Davis is a guy who I think we're all super in on having a crazy explosion breakout maybe this season to get Reese Waters back. And then obviously Goon, who I think could be a total just breakout freakish talent. I watched 3 games last year. The one against Fresno State, it looked like he was playing against eighth graders. I know Fresno State stunk,
They
but
might
I just
actually
think
be
with
eighth graders. They hired an eighth grade coach last offseason. So.
but like that, I just think that guy is a crazy high upside. So yeah, kind of similar to Illinois State. I mean, higher, better team, but
Yes.
a quasi midish major with retention that I think again easy to root for. I hope they do well and they cash in on the chips they brought back.
Well, they're going to the Pac-12, Matt. So technically, they will be a Power Six.
Are we counting in a
Pac-12 is
Power
back.
Six?
Well,
It'll be anointing it Power
there's
Six.
a Power Five right now in college basketball.
Yeah, it's a Power.
That's going to be a prove it for me, Kai.
Yeah.
Show me you're a Power Six.
There's a
before I
4-year
give you that.
transition period to be re-anointed Power Six.
Yeah.
You can't be anointed when you.
I'm all the way on this team. Have a lot of their futures because the price was crazy. Pharaoh Compton too was a major recruit last season. He's going to be a sophomore. I think they're a top 20 team, Jim. I'm very in on this team.
Yeah, you are kind of leading the charge with their ranking, but I'm right with you with some of the futures and just like we've seen Dutcher win with a team like this. Bigger wings, dominant shot blocker. Like if Guath is could he be better than Nathan Mensah as a defender? It's possible. Mensah is probably sturdier. Goon needs to continue adding some weight, but there's enough like shot creation. Miles Bird is a terror and was in the mix to go pro because of his defensive upside and he didn't shoot the ball very well. But yeah, this team just makes sense with Dutcher's identity. I don't see why they're not good. And yeah, Matt, they went to the Final Four. Can they continue that success? Like they've had more postseason success than anybody else from that conference, and this team could do the same. So I'm on board. All right, my other team, I had USC written down, Matt, and I forgot we should have in terms of intriguing.
I
and
figured one of
compelling.
you would. That's why I tried to group it with Washington to make it stand
Yeah,
out.
well,
But
I
you're
don't want
happy
to
hit
belabor
4
them
points.
again, but just the Musselman Chad Baker Mazara dynamic is just going to be
I
one
know.
of the best storylines of the season to me. They're already like clashing but loving each other. But if they lose 2 games in a row, or is that suddenly going to go really south? And they're throwing barbs at each other in press conferences as they sit next to each other. I'm ready to see all of that drama, all of that unfold. That was my one little USC point to add. But my one outside the Power Five, not fully pure mid-major, but it's South Florida. And maybe it's because my dad lives near there and I'll probably go to a game or two when I visit him during the season. But there's also just like storylines galore. I mean, a year ago, their coach passed away, and now they have gone from that rising star, seemingly Amir Durahim is going to be able to vault from South Florida somewhere nearby or a Power Five school to I think Hodgson is like one of the next great candidates to do that. He's under 40. He wanted a place that's kind of tough to win, Arkansas State. He's got the Nate Oates glow up of analytically savvy, rim and three rate, get up and down. They've got this strategy going, and I think the roster is super loaded too. He brought a couple of guys with him from Arkansas State, added in a couple down transfers, up transfers. The Canadian freshmen all showed pretty well in the FIBA event this summer, the U19 World Cup. Like they've got 12 guys I think could potentially play. And man, Kai, it's just a very promising situation that's kind of risen from the ashes of tragedy last year, and is another one that could be a major factor in the coaching carousel in another year. So I especially partnered with how wide open the American is, because Memphis is
Yeah.
like eating its own tail right now. South Florida looks really shiny to me.
Another team I'm in on, Jim. I'm in on the Bulls. Now, I have not
Yes.
watched a lot of Wes Ennis, but I'm excited to. The
Yeah.
All-American point guard transfer they're getting from Lincoln Memorial, which was Schertz's former stop, I believe was LMU.
Yep.
Yes. I'm all the way on Hodgson. Great job at Arkansas State. That program keeps finding incredible coaches. McCaslin and Hodgson. I mean, that's a fantastic one, too. They're a top 3 team for me in the American, Matthew. You can convince me they're over Memphis. I probably won't put them there quite yet, or at least the beginning of the year. But boy, they're right there. Um, I think they're loaded, like Jim said.
I agree. This is an obvious one, Jim. I kind of missed this one. This is just the coach, the situation. I think that's just like a real like buy low program. Like I know they've been underfunded and like not fun, but it's like Tampa Bay, sort of in like a good conference. That should be a strong. I think Hodgson was smart in taking that job. I think the Alabama guys who take jobs are smart. They don't take jobs they don't think they can elevate, and I think he was. There's a reason he took that job. I think there's just a lot. They've been sort of torpedoed by, I would say, feels like okay to bad coaches historically. So I think now they actually have a good coach. Um, yeah, I'm in on the. I think they're going to be good. Question is how good,
Yeah, yeah. Can they elevate to at-large conversation?
right?
I'm
Or just
curious to see. I should have pulled up the schedule a second ago. I'm gonna try to do it
like are they
quickly right
UAB like
now.
good but not like consistent at large good? Or are they just like good enough to win the tournament, maybe get hot and then win a game in the actual tournament? That's sort of I think where the
Right,
range
and
is.
does it need to be sustained, or can they get there this year? They've gotten at Oklahoma State game, who I actually considered for this exercise because Anthony Roy, just I'm curious whatever craziness is going to happen when he's involved. They've got the Paradise Island tournament in the Bahamas. They host Utah State. And the big one at Alabama, Hodgson going to Nate Oates in mid December. If they were able to swipe that, the mentor steals one from the master. That would be a real big one for them. And George Washington too, another team that's going to be like possibly Q1 on a neutral, maybe low Q or high Q2. I don't know. They could build in that large case, and if they're able to run through the American, I could see it. All right, Kai, what else do you have? Do we have any others to touch on?
All right, one last team, guys. Marquette. Marquette is
Mm.
intriguing to me because Shaka has decided not to use the portal for a second straight season, and we all question why. He could definitely use another piece, but fellas, I think they're going to be kind of good. In fact, it would not shock me to see them outperform last year's Kim Pom rank, which was 29th. They have two
There you
starters
go.
back. Sorry, Jim.
No, so there you go. It's
Yeah.
Ewing theory, Cam Jones. Go for
Well,
it. I
no,
like it.
I think Cam Jones is fantastic, and in fact, he had like the biggest on-off impact in CVB analytics. He played a ton of minutes, so you got to caveat that a little bit. But still, two starters back. Chase Ross is going to be kind of the top dog role. I think he's capable of that, and Ben Gold, who I think is very underrated in the front court. I think many people thought that defense would fall off last season with him kind of anchoring. Well, it didn't. It was still a top 30 defense, I think, in the country. Um, Two key contributors are back with Lowry and Parham. You got rising sophomores in this team with Parham, Owens, and Hamilton. And then Sean Jones, Matthew. He's the key. He's the motor of the offense. He's missed the last year and a half, I believe. He's a blur. He's tough on the ball. And of course, Shaka has his crop of four stars coming in. One of them might emerge. The Big East is weak. Marquette, I think, is a lock to be top four in this conference. And I'm in on them being as good or maybe slightly better as last season, surprisingly, despite the portal.
Yeah, if healthy, I'm back into. I think that backcourt's off again. And if healthy, I'm very in on that backcourt, especially
Yeah,
with
and it
Lowry. I think
sounds
he's yeah.
it sounds like Sean Jones is healthy. Like he's been playing since January or something, which is huge. They just didn't want to pull the red shirt in a year that how much is he going to play behind Cam Jones? But yeah, it sounds like he's going to be totally good to go. Shout out to our guy Bruce City. I think it is Parham. I think he corrected me once. It was
Oh,
like very
I hate
specifically.
when that happens.
So I'm sure like he's
Good.
screaming into the microphone. I just wanted to acknowledge that he did correct me once. I think maybe last year. I believe that's what it is. But yeah, I was a big Zadie Lowry guy before last year, and he was good, but like barely shot the ball. I think he's got still some upside. And yeah, the Parham, Demarius Owens was supposed to be the stud freshman last year and dealt with injury in kind of the preseason, early season was never really the guy that they wanted him to be. He's got big upside. Kai, I agree. This is a really good pick because it's such a unconventional approach to the current landscape of college basketball, and I'm kind of rooting for it. Like, let's have this model of continuity, internal development work, just so maybe other teams can realize you can go this way instead of turning over 10 of your scholarships every year.
yeah, maybe get one guy, Matt, but yeah, otherwise, not a bad job by Shaka retaining guys.
Yeah, why not? You could get a little
Just get
cherry on
one,
top. You've got your Sunday.
just
Put
one.
your cherry on top. Yeah.
I think they're trying to. I mean, they do have four star. I mean, I know they're not any great recruits, but
That's his
I think
style now. He just
the NIL must be spread around pretty heavily to the freshmen. That's part of this whole NIL thing. It's like you're gonna get four-star freshmen. You got to pay them a little bit, probably.
Yep.
So
I
kind
think
of
I
cuts
think
into your.
was it Rothstein's tweet about I think it was Nigel James was like, "Oh, my well-embedded moles are telling me Nigel James is the one to watch."
Really, the
Those are
guard.
all
I want to hear
yeah.
about a big guy freshman. They need like a shot blocker or something, like a
Where's
or like an
Kirkwoth?
Oso.
Remember when
Yeah,
they
or
brought him in?
Kirkwood. Yes,
Come
that's
on.
right.
That guy could help.
I'm over Ben Gold. I think he's just a guy.
he's
No, I'm
good.
kidding. He's good. He's good. He needs some help though. He can't just be like the centerpiece of that deep. Anyway,
Yeah. That's
Matt,
my
did you have
last
any
team.
other
Yeah.
Matt, did
I
you have any
have
other
one more. I'll
teams?
do it quickly.
One?
Sorry, I got to
Okay.
run here in
No, you're good.
4 minutes,
All
or
right.
I'll get yelled at for not supporting daycare prep. Uh, North Carolina, Ohio State, bundling them into one. Just two coaches, I
The
think.
CBS Sports Classic special.
Exactly. Thank you. Two coaches that I think we're all skeptical on, frankly, and at programs with like endless resources and high expectations. Um, got to win this year. Talent's there. UNC is paying their GM $1 million a year, whatever. Like that's sick. Like I need to be applying for these jobs.
Yeah.
Like $1 million a year to go through to Jim's ongoing roster sheet with Portal and go through a few analytics sites and pick out a few guys and call. I mean,
I agree. The
yeah.
GM job is a freaking joke. I'm saying it's the
No,
freaking
it's a
joke.
great job. I just can't believe these guys are making
It
this
should
much
not
money to
exist.
do the job.
I'm sorry. It should not exist. It's just
I shouldn't exist at the pay
incredible
level that it does.
What do we do?
I don't know. I guess there's probably a lot of like glad handing. You're responsible for some of the
Yes,
fundraising stuff too.
that's what I
but-
think is happening with the UNC
Sure.
thing. I think like the NC State and a couple of other guys, like okay, really smart GMs. I get why they hired them, like whatever. But the UNC feels like a whatever. The whole family nonsense, hypocritical coming from the whole Duke brotherhood. I get it, whatever. I just think fasting, easy, quick storylines with those two is you need to like Rodney Terry last year. Like you're at a big time program. Do you belong there? Okay, well show us you do.
Yeah, I even saying the CBS Sports Classic thing. I forgot they play each other in the CBS Sports Classic in Atlanta this year.
First
man.
match,
So
right? Yeah.
we're gonna find out from them in December. That's a big one. Kai, did you have anything else to add on those two? Or I'm just gonna
I don't. Nope.
my final little highlight. And we don't even have to analyze the teams, but I will be watching with the most like morbidly curious. How bad can this be? I'll be watching Green Bay and Sacramento State because I think they both sort of made a mockery of the college basketball coaching world with their hires. Last year it was terrible for Gottlieb, and the roster looks a little better this year. So you better be better, or you're gonna just get really pointed and laughed at. And then Mike Bibby was like a high school coach, and it's just bringing a name. Does that help us in the portal? I don't think the roster is all that compelling for a group that was assembled by supposedly big names, potentially big money. And I just, I wouldn't, maybe I am rooting against Kyle. I'm sort of just, I don't want this model to succeed. I want there to be the guys in the trenches working on assistant jobs and trying to grind their way up the ladder. I want that to matter. I want that to be rewarded. And it seems both these guys kind of just skipped the line for jobs that I don't think they deserved.
Yeah, maybe Gottlieb got humbled a little bit last season. Maybe that helps. Yeah, Bibby. Yeah, I don't know. He's going to put together talent, and I'm hoping people overreact to the talent because I'll take the underachieved side of that coin.
Yeah. Yeah, he was at Hillcrest Prep in 2019. It's kind of unclear what Bibby's been doing in the last 5
I
years.
played in the league. I can coach basketball. That's basically what everybody thinks that played the sport, Jim.
Yeah. So we will see if that works. I am really skeptical. I might be more skeptical of Bibby working out than Gottlieb even.
By
but
far.
I don't know.
Actually, yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I am too. Gottlieb's coached basketball before. Bibby hasn't coached. I just think that, like, yeah, whatever.
Yep. Okay, that's it. That wraps it up, I believe. Kai, do we have any reviews?
Just a quick note from Cabo Rave. He just says, "Good job, Matt. Took the word out of my mouth for last episode. That was fun, all the way through. Thanks again for all the laughs I had. You're all combo players, smart, sharp, and quick. That's enough stroking for one episode. Adios, chicos. Rave. Thank you, Cabo Rave. You're the best.
You're the king. We appreciate you. Yes, that does wrap it up. We'll be back next week, probably Friday, but hey, maybe Thursday. We'll throw you a curveball. We're figuring it out every week as Matt's daycare situation evolves.
2 weeks.
So, yeah, it's a we're at the whims and the needs of the young Cox member. But that's it. Thank you everybody for tuning in. Thank you to the chat. Some good lively discussions in there. We'll be back in a week. Join Basket Under Review. Great content in there. Please do that. Shout out CBB Analytics. That is it. We'll see you next week. Cheers.